What is up, everyone? Jeremy here. In this video, I'm going to show you some brand new NeuralDSP QuadCortex presets and captures that I just put together and captured myself. Now, these captures are of some NeuralDSP plugins, those being Fortin Cali, Fortin Nameless, Archetype Nolly, and Archetype Gojira. So I'm going to show you what the presets look like. You're going to hear some audio samples of these and the captures. And then I'm going to show you how I captured them so that you can capture plugins yourself in your own QuadCortex. So with all of that, let's get started. All right, so before we get to the presets and captures and all of that, I do want to announce that I finally have a Patreon. So a lot of you have asked in previous videos, and specifically like my mixing template videos where I've shared free mixing templates, how you can support me, and if I have a Patreon, well, again, I'm happy to announce I now have one. You can find the link to that in the description below, and if you are one of those folks who are looking for a way to directly support me in the channel, that is a great way to do it. So again, find the link for that in the description below. All right, so the presets and the captures, let's get to it. So we're gonna start with the Nameless preset, and that is obviously using the Fortin Nameless capture. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and call out here real quick. All four of these presets are basically identical. The only thing different is the capture that is used in each of them. And so we'll just quickly walk through the entire signal chain in this one, but in the other three, just know it's basically the same, but let's just go ahead and take a look. So we have an adaptive gate here, and then we have some low cut, just basically around 100 Hertz, getting rid of some of the lower frequencies that, especially in some of the low tunings that I play, there's just a lot of bass. I want to get rid of it before it goes into the amp. Then we have an optional Anima fuzz. I have found that putting this fuzz pedal in front of a lot of amps does a great job of boosting like a standard overdrive, but because of the fuzz in there as well, it creates this really disgusting, awesome tone. So I'm gonna put this, I'll leave this in there. You can try this one out if you want. And then I'm also including a capture of my Aris Effects Brutal Boost as well, and that's the one that will be engaged on all of these. Then we have the captures, and this one is called Nameless 1, and I'll put a screenshot on the screen right now so you can see the settings that I used. And I do want to call out that all of these captures are of just the amp. There's no pedals, there's no IRs, there's nothing like that. It's just the amp, so that you can use whatever pedals you want in front of it and whatever IRs you want after it. Then after this amp capture, we have a little bit of post EQ, not much happening there. And then the IR section, and the IRs that I have here are the Jeff Dune tight and bright oversized impulse responses. Specifically, I'm using the SM57 number 1 and the R121 number 5, and those are blended together. And that is the first preset called Nameless, and this is what it sounds like. All right, so the second preset and capture that I have is the Cali suite, the Fortin Cali suite. Again, the signal chain in this is pretty much identical to the one you just saw before with Nameless. The only real difference here is the Fortin Cali suite number 2 capture. I captured the Cali suite twice, basically. The first one is a little bit less gain than the second one. So I'm using number 2, which is a little bit more gain here. But there are 2 captures. They'll both be on the Cortex Cloud. You can try them both out if you want. And then after this, we have a little bit of the post EQ and the same Jeff Dune impulse responses. So with that, let's have a listen. All right, and the next preset is Nolly, obviously, because that is Archetype Nolly. It is called Nolly 1. That is what the capture is called. And again, I will put a screenshot up here so you can see all the settings on the amp, but it's the exact same signal chain, maybe just a little bit slightly different post EQ, same impulse responses. So with that, let's have a listen. All right, and the next preset up is called Gojira. Why could that be? Well, because it's obviously using Archetype Gojira. This is, I think it's the third amp. It's the 5153 amp in there. And then, let's see, there's really nothing different here. I think maybe just a very slight different post EQ, maybe just pulling out a little bit more of the lows, something like that. But that's essentially it. Same Jeff Dune impulse responses. So let's just get to the audio sample. All right, and the last preset that I'm gonna share with you here is an interesting little trick that I just kind of happened upon, just kind of experimenting with some things. So this preset is called Thick, and what I'm doing here is I'm using the same kind of preamp signal chain as all the other presets. So the adaptive gate, we do have the pre-EQ, the kind of the low cut, it's bypassed right now. We do have the Enema Fuzz and the Aris Effects Brutal Boost as well. But then what happens is it splits off and sends the signal to both rows 3 and 4. And then if you look in row 3, we're using the Gojira capture, and in row 4, we're using the Nolly capture. But where things get interesting is when you look at the IRs. On row 3, we're panning the signal, both IRs completely to the left, and on the signal, the row number 4, with the Nolly, we're panning everything to the right. And that creates this super wide stereo sound because we got those different amps, the different harmonics and all of that, different dynamics happening with everything panned to one side. It sounds super wide, super massive, and really cool. So I wanted to share this with you, so let's have a listen to it. All right, so those are all the presets. You will find them all on the Cortex Cloud. I'll put links to all of those and my account on the Cortex Cloud in the description below. Find all of those there. All right, so the last thing I want to walk through with you is how I captured these plugins on the QuadCortex so that you can do the same thing with your own plugins as well. So essentially the way that I did it was I used a second audio interface. And then the way that I connected the QuadCortex to that was the capture output of the QuadCortex on the back of the QuadCortex goes into the input of the second audio interface. Specifically, the one that I'm using here is the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6, I believe is what it's called. That is then connected to my computer via USB. I then open the NeuralDSP plugin that I'm going to capture. I open the settings in that plugin and make sure it's receiving the signal from that second audio interface and then sending the signal back out to the audio interface's main 1 and 2 outputs. From that secondary audio interface, I send the output number 1 into the instrument input on the QuadCortex. So that creates that kind of full loop so that the QC can then send audio out to the audio interface which then goes into the plugin via USB. The plugin sends the audio back out to the second audio interface, again through the USB, and then we connect the second audio interface back into the instrument input of the QuadCortex, so it has a full loop so it can create the capture of the plugin. So that's basically all there is to it. So you can go and capture whatever plugins you have using that same method. All right, so that is it for this video. I hope you found this info helpful or interesting in some way. I hope you dug the tones. And again, you can find all these presets and captures on the Cortex Cloud. You'll find links to all those in the description below. And again, don't forget to check out my Patreon account. The link to that is in the description below. If you are looking for a way to directly support me and the channel and everything I'm doing here, that is a great way to do it. And if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to my channel for more great content like this in the future. With that, I want to thank you for watching and thank you for your support.